My brother was diagnosed with a brain tumor right before he got married. He was diagnosed because he started having some seizures, and they progressively got worse and worse. I think what freaked him out was the after the seizure, what it would do to his body, and what would it do to his memory and his balance and his just general functioning. It could take him 24 hours to even remotely come back to, a comfortable place after a seizure. God, he hated the medication too. All the medication he had to take to control those seizures. To see somebody you love struggle, go through what my brother had to go through. It's really hard. I mean, even to this day, I can see it. You can see it on my parents' face. When my brother started having his seizures, I was older. My sister was older. Your family dynamics change dramatically. And it is all about, the person who is sick, and it should be. So for me, I was blessed with a little maturity. Didn't make it easier, but I understood it a lot better.
Kai's first seizure he had when he was in kindergarten. I woke up early that day and went downstairs to watch TV. And I remember hearing my mom screaming, "Call 911," and she was carrying him downstairs. I was just really confused and scared. I mean, I was 8, so I didn't know really anything. It kind of created a tension in our house. There's always that doubt that the medicine will work, that something could happen. My mom and I used to take mother-daughter trips every year, and now we don't, because what if we're gone and Kai has a seizure? So my parents could never leave the house together. Someone always had to be home. Before he was diagnosed, I felt like our family was really, really close. And I was talking to my older brother, and he said, ever since he was diagnosed, things changed. I really want to major in psychology because treating epilepsy has to be holistic. You have to treat everything. You can't just treat the disease, you have to treat everything that comes with it.
In my lifetime, Marky was always having seizures. He had fallen from his crib when he was about 2 years old onto a hard surface, and at that point, he started to seize. When it would happen in public, I can remember instances of being really, really embarrassed, which is, again, maybe a horrible thing to feel, but I was a kid. My parents were not well equipped to explain it, so having to learn about it piece by piece, something was wrong. Marky was slow. My wife, Janine, we were expecting our first child, and Mark was very excited about seeing our kids. And just before we drove out, Marky said, "Scott, come here. Yeah, Mark, what's up?" I said, "I just want you to know I'm really proud of you." Thanks, thank you. And that's the last time I saw him alive. I got to my office and my phone's ringing. I pick it up and it's my brother Kirk. And he just blurted out, "Mark's dead." My brother had a seizure in his sleep. Life is not fair. Sometimes it just isn't. And so this beautiful, wonderful man. And I miss him every day.
Julie is 3.5 years older than me. Her first seizure was a few weeks before I was born, and I didn't really understand what it meant until I saw her first seizure when I was about 4. And my dad was holding my sister on the ground as she was shaking, convulsing, and I was just standing there in just complete shock, didn't know what was going on. As the years progressed, so did Julie's epilepsy, and they started putting on her all these different medications, and she was just drugged up the whole time. She's been through 3 brain surgeries. Unfortunately, when she turned about 16 or 17 is when the seizures started coming back. They were a lot worse, and my parents had to make the decision to have Julie undergo a hemispherectomy. They removed about 85% of the left side of her brain. My mom stayed in Cleveland every night in an uncomfortable little chair next to her bed. And my dad would fly out every weekend, and I would go to my grandparents' house, aunts and uncles, family, friends. I had to celebrate my 14th birthday in a cafeteria at a rehab center in Cleveland. Being 14, I'm like, well, this isn't fair. But my sister just had half of her brain removed. Who am I to say what's fair? I often ask myself, what are my responsibilities going to be for my sister? What happens if 20, 30 years down the line, if my parents are no longer able to care for her, what am I going to have to do to make sure that she's okay?
My mom was an amazing, amazing woman, very strong. She unfortunately suffered a stroke when she was 29 years old. 12 years after suffering that stroke, began to have seizures. I do remember the first seizure that I saw. I heard a thump of her landing on the ground and then noises. And I went in and saw her laying on the floor, the eyes rolling in the back of the head. And again, I'm 12 years old. I didn't know what to do. I had to grow up really quickly, and I was mad at her a lot. I would feel guilty about being angry at her because there was nothing she could do about it. I wanted to just have a regular parent. I'd been out of college for 2 years, and I got a call in the middle of the night, I'll never forget it, from my aunt saying that my mother was in intensive care. She had 2 seizures, and they were long. One of them lasted, they said, about 17 minutes. She came out of it and immediately began to seize again. She wasn't able to recover from it, so she never left intensive care. And she passed away at 52 years old.
I don't want someone else to get that phone call. I don't want another kid to have to not know what's going on with their brother or their sister. I don't want anyone to have their day stopped and their life stopped and their heart broken.
I can't bring my brother back, but Leo would want you to find a cure. And it's not for him, it would be for everybody who came after him, that they don't have to go through what he went through.
Seeing everything that my sister has been through with all the medication, all the therapy, all the surgeries, all of the pain that she's had to endure, I want to do anything I can to make sure nobody else loses somebody the way we might have lost Julie.
My mother had been seizure-free for a number of years, but I'm a witness that stopping the seizures without really tackling whatever is going on in the brain that's causing them is not enough. In large part due to the great work that Cure has done over the past 13 years, I can talk to families and look at individuals who are suffering and with sincerity say to them that we are on the path to finding a cure.